can see the AstraZeneca circles begin to swirl within your eyes, black shallow patterns that no longer hold any reticence towards me. I find that if I can calculate the coagulation that will take place as soon as the planet Earth evolves inside of itself, we will one day figure out how we could ever carry on. I think that once we come to understand that all the yearning in this world directly belongs to and is inverted by the relation to one that feels how you could be understood in a certain way. Canoes often venture deep inside the forests and we have no understanding of where they go or why. You can build your own birch bark version of the iterative structure that I've described, but I would not advise it unless it is a full moon and you are well ensconced with all knowledge of the zodiac signs. If you look at Mars rising, you will now see that over the styrofoam you cannot quite interpolate what is happening in the praxis parallax residing within your own mind. I often think to myself how much a cigarette lighter would assist me in getting much warmer than I currently am, as it burns my flesh along with the denim, which is crafted hand-wise in Japan by a small man with no fingers and little sense of self-esteem. If I could paint anything, I would paint a rhinoceros that was evolving into a wheelchair. I would now like to direct your attention to the fiery eclipse that can only be seen once a week every February. It is the worst day on Earth. You are here and so am I, and there is a pile of fireworks in the corner. I will turn my back and count to 10, 5, 7, 2, 1, 8, 9, 5 again. Did you blink? I turned out the lights. Now it is just you and the fireworks, and they will go off. Pow, pow, pow. Pow, pow, power wheels. I wanted to show you a battery that I found. It is encrusted and turned gray with sludge. I do not think it will work anymore, but I would precisely like you to put it inside the microwave. If you've ever thought about hurting small animals that cannot relate to you, that has never happened to me except for one time when I snobbed a picnic table full of snails. I still feel guilty about it. I do not know why they were at this picnic table. Oh wait, it was... I don't want to talk about that story anymore. Now, if you look at the circumference of the Earth, you can understand that green and velvet are two of the same factors, but quite often do not intersect, except for the Chesterfield, which I once tried to purchase at a reupholstery store. They informed me that it was not for sale and that the person who dropped it off would soon come back for it. As I was walking last week with my beautiful girlfriend after 5 years' time, I noticed the green velvet was still there, lush and verdant as ever, almost as if you were looking at moss. The last time I looked at moss was in the Rocky Mountains. It was quite damp and was fresh morning dew. Ladybugs are often of two genders, possibly even three. There might be a fourth gender, but science hasn't come that far. We're working around the clock on it. I would like to encourage you to donate to any newspaper you can find still in publication. They used to have them in boxes and you could pay for one, but still set the entire pile of newspapers on fire. That's what I call innovation. Innovation that is lost now that we move to a more electronic situation, otherwise known as being online. If I could read you a story right now, I would choose not to. I would opt to instead imagine cardboard boxes and how they could be split open along the seams, using special locking tape to seal it with copper wire tucked safely inside. My safely inside copper wire would be used as conductor to demonstrate and generate the frequencies of static electricity required in order to do the Roomba. Jack Kerouac went to Mexico and listened to nothing but bongo music, and that's partially why I became addicted to heroin. He was going to kill her. Lou Reed had not slept in 4 days, and he knew it was going to be about 3 more to get done what he had to. Lester Bangs had gone too far this time, even further than when he referred to him as a fat pig. Lou was a fat pig at the time. What was insufferable about the entire situation was Lester was one fat motherfucker, and this time he was going to die. He was going to die, and Lou Reed was going to kill him. He understood that Lester wrote for a living and had to generate controversy. But what he had said about Rachel was a little too much. Lester had changed his mind about Metal Machine music, but that didn't matter because he was going to be dead soon. He was going to be dead soon at the hands of Lou Reed. Lou Reed released Rock and Roll Animal in 1974, which was a typical 1974 live music album. He played rock and roll and pretended to inject heroin Lester Bangs no longer breathed and no longer was with us, or else he was going to cop and get fixed. He wasn't quite sure. As he passed the Japanese car store, he noticed the Toshiba Retromax 1473 tube. It was a headless traveling car that could be plugged directly into a reverberator parts box. He thought about Robert Klein and how he was to kill him as well. But this was not that time. It was time to kill Lester Bangs, and everybody knew it. Lester lived on the 10th and 74th quarter down in the Lower East Side. Literally was going to smash his skull. He was going to throw his eyeball and chew on it a little bit, then spit it out and feed it to his dogs. One of the dogs' name was Barry. The other's name was the Dude. Not like the thin white dude, David Bowie, who recorded his own albums in Berlin, but actually had nothing to do with Berlin. Lou Reed's 1972 follow-up, The Transformer, which David Bowie did have something to do. And now that fucker, Lester Bangs, was going to be dead once and for all. And Lou Reed was going to do it. He was going to grab him tight and squeeze him, and maybe spit in his face to let him know that this really was a hateful thing. It was a hateful thing that Lester did and wrote about, and now he's going to pay the ultimate price. Lou Reed's glue would soon find his head. It would stomp into his nasal cavity until it resembled an indent in the snow. And then he would pull his teeth and wear them on a special ring. Maybe his next album would be called I Fucking Murdered Lester Bangs, and his teeth are around my neck in a necklace, or perhaps they're on a keychain. It's none of your fucking business where Lester Bangs' teeth are. I'm Lou Reed and I murdered him. It was at this moment Lester Bangs realized that he was sorry, but more than that he was sorry, he was in danger. And he decided he would set the record straight. He would call Lou Reed and apologize and prostrate himself before the great and diminutive founder of the Velvet Underground. He realized that Lou Reed generated a new style of guitar soloing, particularly on white light, white heat, whereas distortion effects emulated the sounds of Coltrane saxophone, which reverberated through the streets of Manhattan in 1959 when a young Lou Reed came upon this site. Lester Bangs did not want to die at the hands of preeminent rock scholar Lou Reed. Lester Bangs was in fact a scholar of rock, but he understood because Lou Reed was having a close relationship with Hubert Selby, as well as, what's his name, he taught at Syracuse. He probably had more academy credentials than Lester Bangs did. All that Lester Bangs was a rock and roll writer who proved that you could take enough Quaaludes, cough syrup, and amphetamines to write about whatever the fuck you wanted. And here he was, living the dream, except he was about to be murdered by his dearest and most fascinated about, most fantasized idol. He picked up the phone and began to dial. He knew Lou Reed's number. For some reason it was a Brooklyn number, but he didn't ask any questions because Lou Reed lived in the upper midtown. He was still with Rachel, or had he moved on to Sylvia Reed. I don't really remember the timeline of what I've been talking about. All I know is that Lou Reed was going to kill Lester Bangs. Just then the door burst open, and an angry Lou Reed came into Lester's apartment. Lou, I'm so sorry. Lester, it doesn't matter if you are going to go to hell now. I'm going to send you to hell. If God decides you should go to heaven, I will go up and I will kill God as well. I am Lou Reed and I can do this. I understand, Lou. I understand that you are capable of rending my heart and my head into pieces as you stomp them with your large ears. Yes, I'm going to do that, Lester. And then I'm going to put your teeth on a necklace and I'm going to call my next album I killed fucking Lester Bangs and his teeth are on a necklace. Or perhaps it's keychain. Or perhaps it's none of your fucking business what I do with Lester Bangs' teeth who I have just killed. The album by Lou Reed. Please don't. Please. I actually really like Metal Machine music. The section is around minute 8 on side 3. That's my favorite part. Bullshit. You have not made it to side 3. Yes, I have. Your guitar goes... Wow, you really did do it. Okay. experienced electroshock therapy in the 60s, and this had long-lasting effects. Wu said he never really had a stable short-term memory, and the amount of amphetamines he was injecting probably did no better to help him. It's quite possible he made up the story of electroshock therapy in order to justify his memory loss, which most definitely happened from injecting speed, but that's just an offside speculation. And I won't sully Lou Reed's name by saying such things. I had the sensation of flying through the air. I was on the wrong side of Chicago and I knew it. I would have to catch the last train getting out. The CTA stop was right near me. I could hear the shouts coming closer, and I ran. I tasted blood in my mouth. They were closing in now, these sinister figures. I did not want to stick around to find out what was in store for me. When I made it to the CTA, I realized that I had forgotten my bus pamphlet, and I said to the bus instructor, "Please allow me to get onto your vehicle. I have forgotten my bus pamphlet and do not wish to be mauled by the denizens of Western Chicago. They are all wine-drinking dilettantes. They have listened to the records made by Kanye West, and it has poisoned their perspective and outlook. These wealthy investors seem to seek some kind of established theater of cruelty in which I will be tortured. I need to return to the south side of Chicago, where I am safe amongst the drill gang and O-Block members. Do you have any way that you can let me onto this train?" The bus pamphlet instructor shook his head and laughed. He said, "I am reading a Murakami novel, and I cannot be bothered to help you for being ripped limb from limb by these rich benefactors. You do understand how it is. They run most of the government and also the school systems. I've even heard that some television channels like NBC and CBS are controlled by the same sinister cabal." I said, "I do not have time for conspiracy theories. I simply would like to get on the train." He finally acquiesced, and I sat down on the cold styrofoam and leather. It would be a long ride to south side of Chicago, but I was grateful to be alive. Upholstered carpet had a smell of fresh cut wood. The basement had a dartboard on one side and an IKEA couch on the other. It was like one of those futons that the robotic ass sits in the entire time, except it was the entire couch. What a novelty. I sat on this couch and contemplated the dusty dartboard, realizing that I liked the smell of dust, wood, and fresh carpet. You don't see carpet very much anymore. You only see exposed brick and hardwood flooring. Carpet is often an excuse to tear it up and look at the filthy wooden floor with dead termites and other bric-a-brac and say, "Wow, look at that original hardwood. We'll buff it and find some exposed brick, and then we'll all commit suicide together. We'll kill ourselves, we'll masturbate. Won't this be fun?" I much prefer the carpet to suicide auto-asphyxiation while self-pleasuring, but I do not say this for it possibly to be rude to these doomed souls who wish to commit suicide. Suicide is never the answer, and you should live on or find some excuse why that's a good idea. Perhaps you have pet cats, or you could drink yourself to death. These are all good reasons. Another smell I enjoy is not so much a smell, but the ocular equivalent of an olfactory sensation, and that would be the figure of the 1990s mall. This would have many restaurants and sudden shift of tectonic plates, which you can learn about in DuckTales if you watch one of those episodes. Anyways, this was connected further to a deep and dark sectarian cult who operated in the center of the earth. They would use these fault lines in order to get into Hollywood positions of power and influence the humans who walked across the earth. Van Morrison was down here, along with his treasure trove of secrets. As he thought about beautiful eye-socketless women, he soon began humming to himself, humming one of his favorite Van Morrison songs, which all sound the same to everyone else. But Van Morrison was a different kind of person. Clearly, he was willing to make a pact with these subterranean monsters, and we would all pay for this. I'd like to switch the subject to something lighter, so we will do some free word association. Light bulb, dry cleaner, PowerPoint, pressure, influence, time zones, colors, Rita McNeil, rhubarb, calisthenics, Fraser Crane, batteries, tiny volts of electricity, outside considerations of others besides yourself, broken beer bottles stained the hue of green, pelts across your blood-spattered eyes. Why can't the thunder ever roll in? Why can I not be cleansed of this vapor? I learned to absolve myself of all sin. I pray to the Pope as he sits immaculate on the throne high above. His eyes light like blue fire, and I am covered in a holy radiance that passed me through. I please and placate myself before the Lord. I wonder if that is all right to say. I certainly hope it's all right to say. Please forgive me. Jesus Christ is Lord. I do not wish to be punished. Lightning bolts shatter and split into 5 pieces. I wonder if I can articulate myself any better, or if I now have mouth mush issue that results in my stuttering. Perhaps if I recite these mantras every single day, I will gain more power. I'm closing my eyes. I'm talking about whatever I see. Orange crayon, spiritual turtle, tortoise, alchemy, full-on regurgitation, recitation. The ancient pharaohs sitting amongst their prophets on a throne, brand new and highly convex, converted to be filled with the milk of 1,000 dying suns and planets. Saturn overtakes and rends itself 6-socket ocular, quartz crystal bifraction, interpretations of meaning of servitude. I toil in the fields and it feels alright to me. I hope a hornet's sting does not percolate my flesh. Oh no, I feel the warm, wafting sensation of hornet toxins spreading to my cranium. The neural fragments of the neurons themselves are on fire, and it burns me. It burns me to my very core. I can feel my toenails cutting in my own skin. They're growing much faster than usual, and they already grow too fast. The problem with toenail clippers is they're designed to be lost or left at your girlfriend's house, which I've done. There are 5 toenail clippers that she owes me because she has stolen them from me. I will someday forgive her, but I'm not ready to yet. If I look across the plastic castle fabricated by Fisher-Price, made in China by servant boys over 33 years ago, I can think about where they must be now. I hope they are all unit kings now that the emperor has been dethroned and a communist capitalist inversion of structure hierarchically operates in that the eastern oriental coast. The thing about communism is it worked for Russia and China to be catapulted ahead into super systems of oligarchic oppression. But what do we live in? I don't know. Mark Carney himself may in fact be Satan, and that would be alright with me, because it would mean that Satan is up here, and that everyone in hell is being left alone. And that has to be good, because regardless of how evil and vile they are, they're probably tired of being tormented excruciatingly over and over again. Now I wish to shift taste, and I would like you to visualize a bank robbery in place. You are one of the robbers as well, and this is not a Brad Pitt movie, but instead made by Matt Damon and his little friend. You know the one. Not Dustin Hoffman, no. The one who married Jennifer Lopez. You've probably thought of it. It's Ben Affleck, of course. Ben Affleck has just shot a security guard in the face. And you say, oh my God, Ben. Oh my God, he's dead. He's dead and you killed him. Ben Affleck said, who the fuck are you, Lou Reed? Get out of here. I'm tired of this. We're robbed the bank and you're the getaway driver. I don't even know why you came into the bank. You're supposed to be waiting in the brakes truck. We're using the brakes truck because no one would expect us to be so stupid as to stay inside the Briggs truck. Back when I lived in Edmonton, there was a Briggs truck driver who saw this particular Ben Affleck movie, The Town. He was then inspired to coup de grace execute all three of his co-workers, and then he hid half of the $500,000 outside in the wilderness before being arrested. You can Google this and see that it is all true. I guess you shouldn't watch Ben Affleck movies because it makes you a homicidal and homeopathic murderer. I have no problems with homeopathy. Western medicine cannot solve all of our issues, and there's a lot of underlying and spiritual ones. I do not think the concept of a placebo is quite accurate because perhaps the brain and the amygdala are much more powerful than we give them credit for, and it's a psychic version of healing. But that will be something for another day. I think Steve Jobs died of ass cancer because he ate too much fruit and the fruit was covered in pesticides. I never eat fruit, and I'm twice as healthy as Steve Jobs because I'm not dead in the ground. I do think that Steve Jobs made a better Apple product than the ones that are currently being offered, and if he was alive, he would probably beat the other Steve, not Steve Wozniak, the new one, Tim Clark, whatever. He would beat that guy into a bloody pulp, and that guy probably deserves it too. R.I.P. Steve Jobs, I still miss you. I used to think you were a prick, but now I realize you were probably not as bad as the other pricks, because you could at least make a quality MacBook, and you sucked down your Starbucks coffee while eating your pile of fruit and thinking how much better you were than everyone else because you were such a healthy fucker. Maybe that led you to getting ass cancer. But me making such speculation is probably also not good for my moral turpitude. And I do not understand why these feelings of guilt keep pervading me. I'm sorry, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, I'm sorry. I scream as I pound my fists in my own floor until they are bloody. There's a knocking at the door. It is my landlord. He tells me, Nathan, you have to get out. I say, please, just let me stay. I won't pound the ground screaming about Steve Jobs anymore. We do it once a week, and it's becoming like clockwork. The other roommates tell me what your problem is, and I think that I have come to execute. I don't have any roommates, I said. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I'm looking for Nathan Reynolds, who lives on the floor above you. And you're quite alright. In fact, you're the best tenant I've ever had. And any landlords listening to this long music should probably consider letting Nathan live there. He may not pay his rent for several months, but this is just because he is using it for other things. And do not worry, he will give it to you in time, without considering interest, because interest is against God. And you do not want to be a sinner who goes to hell, even though hell is empty right now because Mark Carney is here. This is the part of the song where you can come up with your own rhymes and yell them at whoever may be listening in the room with you. Thank you. This has been Music for Pawnshops. I am the last male poet, Nathan Schmidt, and I invite you to listen to my other albums, even if you don't like this one. I will work on it and get a lot better. Each one will be slightly different.